Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm helping you level up your communication skills. In this episode, we're going to be discussing why short stories matter. 100 years ago, let's imagine that you are an author. And more specifically, you are an author that deals with short stories. You spend years and years getting better and better at your craft. And one day, you build the courage to hit up your cousin. He's not just any kind of cousin. He's the cousin that just happens to be a top dog publisher in town. And he's one of your closest cousins. Graciously, he accepts the meeting and he tells you to bring your portfolio with you. You grab your best material, put it in your portfolio, and go to meet with him. He's looking through the portfolio. He's all smiles. He looks like the Walmart smiley face. Keeps going through it and through it and through it. And eventually, he looks extremely concerned. He gives you your portfolio back and he says, "Yo, cuz, I love you, man, but I can't publish this. In this company, I publish real authors, people that write books, novels. Like I said, real authors. You write short stories. Come on, man. You gotta take this to the local newspaper or something." This situation is something that was extremely common 100 years back. People that wrote short stories were seen as knockoff authors, and a few made it, but for the most part, it was seen as career suicide. But nowadays, is that accurate? Let's think about it. No, because nowadays, the internet is involved. The internet has completely shifted the media game. It is no longer an aristocracy where there's big publishing companies, I don't care how cool this cousin is of yours, that's saying that something can or cannot get published. With the internet, nowadays, everything's a meritocracy. More specifically, we have to ask ourselves, how are humans consuming content? We have to evaluate the human psyche. Nowadays, you could tell that the concentration rate is going down and down and down. People are consuming their content in shorter and shorter forms. So nowadays, that situation that I gave you in the beginning of this episode, is it relevant nowadays? I don't think so. And to take this example a little bit further, I don't only think that there is a spot for short stories in today's landscape, but I think that short stories are eventually going to become more and more important. Our cultures were built on short stories. It's like we're turning back the clock, but in a completely different media landscape. And to understand why short stories are going to become the future, we have to understand how humans consume content. Let me give you two examples real quick. One example is regarding basketball. I used to have this old school roommate that used to watch a basketball game from beginning to end. He used to watch all the little shows and everything as well. So he would invest 2+ hours into watching this basketball game. But for me, at that stage in my life, I was a little different. I had a lot of other priorities. I loved basketball, but I couldn't spend 2 hours watching it. So for me, I got the experience of basketball, but it was through highlights. In my world, the highlights were extremely rich. I got the good parts, and there was a narrative that I was able to latch on to. So both of us were dealing with the content of basketball, but in two completely different ways. Another example, Seth MacFarlane. He is the guy that created Family Guy, and he's extremely talented. Throughout his career, he's dealt with creating big movies, and he's dealt with creating sitcoms, Family Guy, American Dad, and a few of these other shows. When asked, "Yo, what's the difference between these two worlds? They're both media. They should be similar, right? Both storytelling." He gave a surprising response. He said the two worlds were extremely different. Although the act of storytelling was involved, how it was being generated was completely different. For a movie, a lot of stakes are on the line. I mean, you're dealing with a way bigger budget, a lot of different actors. You're trying to incorporate all those different actors into the story. And there's just a lot of pressure. And when the movie is released, you don't really have much say on it. If you failed, you failed. If you did well, you did well. But there's less control once the movie is released. On the flip side, with a sitcom, Family Guy, for example, he could keep releasing episode after episode, and the stakes weren't as high. If a certain show hypothetically did flop, he was able to make the corrections rather quickly and apply it for the next episode. This world had a quicker turnaround time. So from these two examples, the way of watching the actual basketball game versus the highlights, and creating an actual movie versus creating sitcoms, we can tell that a different mindset is needed. I believe that in the internet, the world of so much content, we're going to be getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Now, granted, this isn't to say that long form content is a thing of the past. I believe people that are making documentaries, people that are making movies, people that are writing big books, keep doing what you're doing. This video is more so targeted for individuals who have that interest towards short stories. Those individuals who are viewing short stories as an art form. Not just something that's to be denigrated, not something that's a knockoff of the real thing, but this world is now becoming a real thing. So if you are an individual that is writing 1,000 word blogs, that's called a short story. Someone that's writing 10,000 word books, someone that's consistently uploading 8 to 15-minute stories on YouTube, there is a lane. There is a lane for us in the world of the internet. Now, if you're someone who's extremely curious about how do I get started in the world of short stories, I have two suggestions just to understand the art form. Get a Twitter and start tweeting and start training your mind to see how you could tell little stories in the tweet format. A tweet is not that much characters, so you don't have too much room to expand, and that's a good thing. Get your ideas and compress it into little bites. Another way that you could delve into the world of storytelling is to tell 1-minute stories. This is a profound way to get your ideas and verbalize it in a rather quick rate. Now, before you start, let's say Twitter or the 1-minute story, do not put yourself in the box. A lot of us, we have this notion, I call this the once upon a time notion, that the only way that you can tell stories is by saying, well, once upon a time, and then you continue. That is not how storytelling is done. That's just one form. Rather, view storytelling as a connection of ideas. When we switch our definition from the once upon a time mentality to a connection of ideas, that's when prolific short storytellers are born. That's when the Twitter page that you created can now become filled with content. That content can now be translated into blog material. Those blog materials can be collected into a book, 101 short stories of insert name. Those book materials can be content material for the YouTube world. This is how, in the meritocracy world of the internet, a lot of new content creators are being born. But keep this in mind. I'm making the prediction right now. Short storytellers are going to become abundant, going to become so vast in the near future, because this is one of the best ways to show creativity, to hit ideas, angles from multiple different lanes. And it's an art form. Always view it as that. It's a craft. It's an art form. The guy 100 years ago, unfortunately, his cousin wasn't necessarily operating with a mean paradigm. He was operating with a paradigm that was relevant in the world of traditional media, the world of newspapers, radio, and television alone. In the world of new media, micro has its spot. A micro audience, micro content, micro ideas. But just because it's micro doesn't mean that it's not going to have a macro significance. So take your hand in short stories. They truly do matter. And short stories are what lasts. Short stories have the power to move the culture forward and change the narrative for the good. Take your hand at it today. Thank you for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.